Okay, Lyle? It's not working.
Might be just connecting to audio still.
No, he said he's on.
I
And
see it in
I
there.
see his name. Ashley, what can we do? We're not going to be able to hear Lyle. So we have 6 people who have approved minutes.
So if you have 6, then he could just abstain from that, or is he able to call in maybe for
I
the
think
rest of the meeting?
yeah, I think he is cool. He was just on a meeting. Uh-oh.
Hello,
Hi, Lyle. Yes, you approved the minutes?
this is Larry Hauptman.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to comment on the cell tower.
Okay, we're not there yet, but if you can mute yourself, we'll call you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll take an abstention from Lyle so that we can move on.
Shall I use both?
Please mute yourself.
So,
Okay, so I'd like to establish an escrow for
Okay.
271 Main Street, the Tesla, for $1,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a liaison here?
Yes, hi there. My name is Shiva on behalf of Tesla. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. We're good. Thanks. David Brownstein, is he here?
Don't see him, and I didn't hear from him today, so I think we
Okay.
can maybe assume he's out.
Okay. Okay. And I did get a yes from Lyle on a text. Does that count, Ashley?
I think we should, if you can't,
If
Say
it's
it
not
here.
public, yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Application. We're gonna have our public here. Well, no, that's not first. Let's do.
Technically, public comment for anything other than Homeland Towers
Yes,
is there, but
I'm looking to see if we can adjust this agenda. Is there anyone here for public comment? This is not the public hearing for Homeland Towers. It's public comment for other topics. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, we're going to close public comment. Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing for Homeland Towers. Is there anyone here? Do you have a list, Alana?
yes, I do have Amy and John Heminger.
Okay,
and Adele, do you want to just do a motion to reopen the public hearing? Because you had
Okay.
adjourned it.
I have a motion to reopen the public hearing. Jane makes the motion. Is there a second?
Move.
Jennifer? I think. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Okay. I don't think, I know Lyle can hear us, but I don't think we can count your vote, Lyle, right now, because it's not public.
Maybe he can text to Alana or something.
He can do *9, and I think that will raise his hand and let him vote.
Okay.
He can do *9 on his phone. Let him try it. See if the hand shows up.
No. Okay, so anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
And is that 6? Yes, and Lyle is an abstention for now. Okay. Heminger?
Yeah, Amy and John, if you guys are ready to speak.
Yes, hi, thank you. So I'm just speaking on behalf of both of us. We want to thank you, first of all, for extending the public hearing portion. We've been aware of the issue for quite some time, but like a lot of people, the global pandemic has really, our focus has been on our 3 school-age kids and navigating school the last year. So I feel like we haven't really been able to focus. So really appreciate the extension. It's allowed us to add our voices. So thank you. That said, we are really concerned with the proposal to build a cell tower in such close proximity to our residents. One of our home's greatest assets is that proximity to nature and a yard with unobstructed views. At the time of purchase, town zoning laws allowed us to feel confident that there would be no change to the residential and natural feel of our neighborhood. A cell tower, which requires special permissions and variances because it does not fall within the existing zoning laws, would absolutely change the character of the area, making it feel commercial instead of residential and natural. This change would have a very real impact to the marketability and resale value of our home, which would significantly impact our financial health. We are no different than so many of our neighbors in that our current and future finances are directly tied to the value of our home, and a cell tower gravely affects that value. We've spent the last decade making improvements, mostly unseen, unfun things like leach fields and hot water heaters and boilers and well pumps and that sort of a thing. We're just starting to get to the fun stuff that our neighbors will appreciate, some little landscaping, fixing up this and that, replacing water damaged ceilings in our family room. And all of these things increase not only our quality of living now, but our resale value. The depreciation that will undoubtedly be caused by a cell tower is akin to flushing thousands of dollars down the toilet. We strongly urge you to consider the negative impact to the residents in the surrounding area and uphold the current regulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe there was someone else here who didn't drop his name in the chat, but who I think wants to speak, but I didn't catch his name. Are you here? I think it's Ruth's iPad. Is that you? Thought that was you. You just have to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hey. Are you here to speak?
Yes, could I speak, please?
Yeah, just give me your name.
Larry Hauptman, 2
Okay.
Seraphian Road, New Paltz.
Okay, you can start.
Yes, I lived here with my wife since 1974 at 2 Seraphian Road, right down the hill from 60 Jansen Road. And this is a very pleasant area, residential area, R1. And this cell tower is not only aesthetically an awful idea for this residential area, but will not only affect our lifestyle here, but will impede upon the natural beauty of the area. So I'm opposed to this, and I just wanted to express my opinion tonight, since I didn't have a chance to do so at the last meeting. I appreciate the time, and I thank you for all your work on the planning board.
Thank you. Alana, is that the gentleman that was going to speak earlier?
Yeah, I believe so. And then I don't see anyone else in the chat. So if there's someone else here that wanted to speak, just speak up now. Don't see anybody. I don't know how long if you want to give it a minute. So it's up to you.
Oh, we can give it a few seconds, maybe half a minute, just in case, because everybody seems to be having Zoom issues tonight.
There's nothing in the
Absolutely.
YouTube live stream either.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion to close public hearing for 60 Jansen Road. The applicant Homeland Towers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion for this? Amanda?
Yeah, just so everyone's clear, we still accept written comments for some amount of time, is that correct?
Yes, we can accept written comments for 10 days. So you can send any written comments you might have to our secretary. Alana, there you go. She did it. It's in the chat, her email address. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, thank you. So our public hearing is closed and it's, maybe we'll discuss, have the application review for the Homeland Towers. I'm going to ask if anyone here from Homeland Towers would like to talk. Speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Robert Gaudioso with the law firm of Snyder and Snyder. We look forward now to receiving any final comments over the next 10-day period. We will then address those comments in the draft final environmental impact statement and get that filed as quickly as we can with the board.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else from Homeland Towers? No, okay. Anyone from our planning board that would like to speak on this application right now? Our planning board also has the same 10 days to put in a written comment, and all of these comments will be addressed by the applicant. Anyone on the planning board? Okay.
Just to clarify, so the written comments will be accepted till end of business on April 22nd. So for anyone who wants to get written comments in, it's April 22nd. You have until then to do so.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, so our next application is 271 Main Street, Tesla. It's the applicant, that's you, Mr. Krishna, yes?
Ma'am, that's me.
Okay, and Andy, you're here. So Andy, would you like to describe the application and then we'll let the applicants speak and with your comments.
Sure. So essentially they want to put in a new telephone pole on Main Street and run an underground line down through Stop and Shop Plaza along the island there to 8 new supercharger stations, I guess they're called. Tesla charging stations, and there's some other electrical cabinets that are going to go in that area. The application is complete. They did a nice job. I had a couple minor comments. I did notice that the electric line is pretty close to that red maple right at the corner there, which is one of the only mature trees in that area. So I think it makes sense to push that away. And then it's also going to go through a bunch of smaller plantings. I assume they're going to put them back, but I didn't see that anywhere on the plan. And then there's also, next to the charging stations, there's these sort of large cabinets. They're 7.5 feet high. They're going to be right in that island as you're kind of sitting at the light waiting to leave tops. So I don't know if they wanted to consider doing a little bit of screening or some landscaping in that area. A couple more waivers I thought that they needed that they didn't have listed, and then just some touching up of the EAF on some of the answers. But other than that, it was in good shape.
Excuse me just a second, I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, Mr. Krishna, you have something that you'd like to add to this?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So we have superchargers up and down 87, and New Paltz is a location we've looked at for a long time, and finally worked out to where we could build a site there. We chose the Tops location so customers could stop and really support the diner, the pizzeria, buy their groceries if they're going to stay in New Paltz, or head on up to their final destination. So this is hopefully what we're building will support our customers and the growth of our network. But what's very important to us is that it helps support local economy and bring business to you, to the actual plaza itself. So that's our general goal behind it. If in regards to Andy, thank you so much for the information you presented. If you want to see any photos of what these cabinets actually look like, the transformer itself, I have some prepared here if you want to allow me to share my screen. Otherwise, happy to answer any questions regarding Tesla supercharging in general. But all in all, we're very excited to bring it to the town of New Paltz, and I personally go through New Paltz all the time on my way to Woodstock. So I'm looking forward to supporting the local economy as well myself.
Okay, thank you. Board comments, Amy?
I have a question for Mr. Krishna. So will you guys be inviting people to come off the thruway and to exit at exit 18 to utilize these electrical stations, or is this for local consumption?
So it's not an invitation necessarily as it is a dot on the screen. So like when someone's driving their car and they're low on charge, they can see all these like thunderbolt shapes that are red dots across the map. They'll click on the one that's nearest and go there to charge their vehicle for about 20 minutes, use the local amenities, and then they're back on the road. So in somewhere like New Paltz, where there's a pretty good population of Teslas, it'll be a mixed use of local and people traveling up and down 87.
Will the rest stop areas on 87 also have these?
We have about 4 chargers on the 87 corridor between New York and once you get almost up to Buffalo. So we're going to be adding more and more through that corridor. We also have quite a few on the other side of the Hudson to support as well.
So are you able to tell me where the closest ones are in relation to the New York State Thruway to this location?
Newburgh is a very close one. I can pull up our map here and tell you all of them. Pretty nice network up and down 87. It's a well-traveled corridor for us. And a lot of people, I suppose, actually. All right, so if you've never been to our website, I highly encourage taking a look. It's just, kind of a nice thing to see that charging is so available, not just by Tesla, but by a lot of customers now. Companies, that is. Okay, so we've got one in central Nyack area. We've got the Newburgh on the way to New Paltz, and then right after New Paltz, we have Kingston.
So it's on the thruway in Newburgh and Kingston, or it's off the thruway?
Correct. Insofar as this location is, you have to come off of it and go to a shopping center in both cases. The one in Kingston is at a Quick Check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions, Amy, because I didn't even think about those.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have on 84 coming through that way as well. We have Middletown and Fishkill. So the Fishkill one is quite a popular location.
Thanks. Amanda? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you, Jane. You'll get you next.
No, go to Jane first. That's okay.
Okay, Jane.
I just have a quick one. Can other electric vehicles use Tesla chargers, or are they simply for your brand?
As it stands today, it's for our brand. There are comments that I can't really speak to that suggest that we could be universal. That's what they call chargers that can charge any car. So I can't speak further to that topic, but at this moment, we are Tesla only.
Okay.
Terrific. Amanda.
Okay, so each of these chargers services one car at a time?
Yes, there's 8 chargers, and they can service up to 8 cars at once. 4 of the chargers are connected to one of the cabinets. So there's 2 cabinets per 4.
Okay, so by putting them all 8 together in the diner parking area, you're kind of, are these going to be restricted for only use for charging, or can other cars park there and block someone? Because
Other cars can park there. It's kind of a general parking. The signage says Tesla Supercharger, that's it. We don't enforce like towing or anything like that. We just find that the general public thinks to park in a different spot if they don't have an electric vehicle. And it's been great, especially in locations up and down the Hudson. People have been very responsive to parking another spot. We also generally try to take spots, one for the purpose of the utility closer to the edge of a property, but 2, that's fortunate in the sense that we don't take premium spots right in front of a diner itself, for instance, or the market. So we kind of position ourselves in a way where we hopefully don't take parking away from anyone.
so, you know, right now it doesn't look like it, but there are times when that diner's very full, there's meetings and things there, and all that parking gets utilized. So, you know, up until now in town, our EV charging stations have said for EV charging only, so they don't get, you know, because there's so few of them. Have you considered moving like 4 of them into more of the tops parking area, you know, instead of putting all 8 of them together?
Right. So I guess that's a twofold point, which is a very good point to be able to spread it out. For the sake of like our efficiency in building and cost, it's nice to have them all together. It can get very expensive to trench to different parts of the property, and it's a lot of disruption to the property as well, to like dig and put the conduit in. So we try to group them together, and it makes it very easy for the Tesla drivers to find the site. And if 2 or 3 chargers are full in one location, they may not know that there's another site right by. Our map doesn't break down like every post and just says where the site is itself. So from that point of view and the amount of work we'd have to do on a property to spread them all out, the goal is to try to fit them as close to each other as possible. The good news is there's 8 of them, right? So back maybe 10 years ago, if we were having this conversation, we'd have only built 4. And now in a lot of areas, our goal is really to build 12 of them. Because of how many Teslas come through. So 8 is like a very nice number where we think the diner gets really busy. We're happy for the diner, that's fantastic. And some people will probably choose to take those spots because they're the last ones left. Then they'll probably take 2 or 3 of them, but I doubt that all of them will be taken. And if that's the case, then we'll definitely talk with the property owner who's been wonderful through this whole experience and work something out with the signage. But we don't anticipate it being an issue.
So I can just, I can tell you, I've been to meetings there where every one of those places is filled up. So is there going to be a sign on them that, so other than the dot on somebody's app, how are they going to know exactly that's where they are? Is there going to be some kind of sign that says Tesla Supercharger?
Correct. The post itself in front of each parking spot has a Tesla symbol on it. It says Tesla in red and it's a white post. And then there's a sign also that says Tesla Supercharger. So they're relatively easy to find on properties because they're kind of like unique looking and aesthetically pleasing. So you kind of notice them when you drive around. And in that lot particularly, everything is kind of wide open. There's no corners that you have to go around. It's not a parking garage. So parking garages, for instance, sometimes it's really difficult to find the chargers because you don't have the line of sight. But in an open place like this, they're pretty visible.
Okay, it's a shame you can't move them around, spread them out, not even in that lot or even in town, so that people have, to utilize local businesses. They're not for 20 minutes, in one spot. They're more spread out through town.
Yes.
I think I sort of recognize where Amy was going with it. Kind of entices people off the thruway to do a quick charge and then use our light and get back on. Mm-hmm. The other EV chargers are not Tesla chargers, Darwin.
So, will you be having a sign outside? I mean, on the road?
Oh, no.
At the entrance to the shopping center.
There's no signage outside of the property.
Okay.
Having been in a Tesla charging spot for a good period of time with my daughter, who has one of the cars, the owners of the cars know where the spots are and are glad to have a new one, I have to say.
Yes, it's a very exciting experience for them to have.
I've had the experience of the charge.
That's great.
Okay, so anyone else on the planning board have any other questions? Okay, is everyone still here? Oh, yes, okay. Ashley,
Yes, so for purposes of seeker, it would be a type 2 action. It
Okay.
does require referral to the Ulster County Planning Board under General Municipal Law 239M. Public hearings not required for site plans. And I saw there's an owner's affidavit, but if they could submit, I know they have to submit an updated list of the waivers that Andy had mentioned, if they could also have that owner's authorization updated. It's not clear who's signing, if they could just print their name and the title if they're signing on behalf of the owner corporation.
Yes,
can we do? Okay, great. Can we do the type 2 action on the referral in the same motion?
Sure, and
You
I,
have to do them separate, right?
well, I don't think you normally do you normally vote on the referral?
Well, no, but we do vote on the actions, right?
So you could just, yeah, if you want to do the
Okay,
motion to
no, okay,
classify
that's
as type 2.
Okay, is there a motion to type this application?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Wait, hold, as a type 2 action?
Yes, as a type 2 action, yes.
Okay, so that's your first. Who's the second?
Go ahead, Jane.
I was gonna say to you, okay, either one of us.
Jane?
Take a pick. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alana, can you repeat that motion? Because I don't know if it actually all came out in your sentence.
Matt moved to declare it a type 2 action under seeker.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think seconded.
Okay, terrific. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. We're good, Ashley? We're all set with that? Okay, thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi,
Thanks for the
excuse me.
time.
I'm sorry. This is Matt Tilden. I work with Shiva on, the
Oh,
engineering.
hi. Oh, Matt, I'm sorry. How are you?
I just did have a quick question in regards to Mr. Willingham's letter. We did receive that, and we don't have a problem with making those, the changes. Is that something that for this next step needs to be completed before it moves on? I'm just trying to figure out what the next steps in terms of any updated plans that are required.
I would suggest that, yes, when you come back, that you do a point-by-point response to each of our comments and how you address them, or whatever comments you have on each one when you come back.
Okay, thank you.
Should I wait for those updates to refer it to county? So the county's next meeting will be May 5th, I believe. So I don't know if you want to intend to come back after those comments have been made. I don't know what Adele thinks, but the first meeting for the planning board in May is May 10th.
Sure. Does that work for you? I mean, we can't do anything until we get the Ulster County Planning Board information anyway, so.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to review it before it goes to county, or you just might as well wait for the county, or what.
I think we should just wait for the county.
Yeah, look at the county.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Thank you, everyone.
were you going to wait until you had the updated plans? I just don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know that you need to wait to refer it. I just don't know how long it's going to take them to get that in. And I know the planning board, the Ulster County Planning Board schedules only that first week. So.
Oh, we can update them fairly quick and have something over this week.
Oh yeah, that's more than enough time for the county.
Okay, we'll make those changes and send those over. Just electronic, is that fine?
That should be fine, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. So next on the agenda, we have 215 Huguenot Street, Tom O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien, you here? Yes, I see you. So, Andy, why don't you describe what we have going on? at the moment with Mr. O'Brien's application. And we also have in front of us on the same site, Garvin's application in front of us. And I believe the owner of the property is here as well. Yes, thank you. So, Andy?
Okay, so this one kind of has sort of a lot of moving pieces at the same time, and we had some discussion on trying to kind of just deal with all of it at the same time, if that makes the most sense. So they were in front of us last month, as you remember, for Garvin's and the cafe to do outdoor seating and an extension on the deck and a shed. And this was under the applicant, under Garvin. Garvin was the applicant, and the owner signed off on that. And then we received a separate application under Tom O'Brien, the golf course, to build a small pro shop. And then upon looking at some mapping, some recent aerial photos, I noticed that there was a couple parking lots that looks like they were installed in the past few years with no site plan approval, that to my knowledge. So we spoke with Ashley, and it seems like the best possible way to go forward is, it's all on the same property, is to have this all looked at the same time, especially given the parking lot issue. There's a couple different ways we can deal with it. Ashley could get into that, but those are the three things that are kind of happening all at once on this one. We're trying to figure out how to navigate through it here.
My impression is that currently the parking lot or parking lots are an issue, in that the possibility exists, or a strong possibility exists, that they are in the wetlands buffer, and that no permit was received for those parking lots. Ashley, did you want to give us what those options are? I mean, I was unclear. I did speak with our attorney, Rick, today, as far as whether or not we wanted to combine these applications because it's in one lot, and he suggested keeping them separate but doing one seeker review. And the seeker review, because it's really the same, be the same seeker review. And the owner of the property, we have two applicants and we have an owner. Two applicants are going to be required to put an escrow. One already did. And who pays for what? I don't really want to, I don't know that the planning board needs to get involved in that. So if you can give us and the applicants their options, and then we can let the applicants speak.
Sure. So in order to avoid a segmented environmental review under seeker, you have to consider the entire action is going to be both applications. So when you're going to be ultimately classifying the action, they do need to submit, each of them, a short environmental assessment form, part one. I didn't see that submitted with the application. So that'll get submitted using the mapper, and you use that to then type the action, the entire action for both of them. But as far as their actual site plan reviews, those would be able to proceed separate. You just do the environmental review together. So with that, I guess the question was, there's the parking lots. I guess there's a question of whether they're in the buffer, and also whether they're authorized at all, or whether they were built without any approval. So if they are looking for approval of those parking lots now, if it's something that was built and not authorized, then those parking lots will have to be considered part of the action as well, that they're seeking, pretend almost that they're not there, and they're seeking approval for these parking lots as well. And that's if they're not already approved. So that'll be analyzed in the environmental review as well, as far as the amount of disturbance that was required for those parking lots. So if the applicant, if they wanted to submit just one together application, they could. I think, as you had noted, it's not necessary as long as the environmental review is done together.
And the parking lot issue, so is it possible for the parking lot to have its own application? Because obviously, if it's in the wetlands, it's going to need a remediation.
I think it probably makes sense for it to be part of one of the two, because the parking lots are for, right, the parking lots are for, the golf course.
Customers of one or both of these.
Mhm.
I see.
So I think however they want to do that, I think it might get a little confusing to then have a third application.
Okay.
But perhaps they could talk more about, if they know what the status of the parking lots are when they were constructed, and that's really the first issue, is to figure out what's going on there in terms of what's unauthorized, and then bringing that to one of the applications, and then submitting, of course, the short environmental assessment form, so that you could look at the seeker for both action.
Okay, so maybe is it appropriate? I'd like to hear from the owner of the property who may know about these parking lots. Yes, and that is Mr. Gilmore, correct? Okay, Mr. Gilmore. Hello.
There we are. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. It actually works well that we're on Zoom. I'm sorry, I'm not in New Paltz today. I have a home in New Paltz, but I am in California right now, so it's good to be on. Thank you. A little quick history, and I promise I won't bore you too much. An old friend of mine, Larry Fury, owned this golf course for about 30 years. He decided to retire about 3 years ago, and asked me if I would buy the golf course from him, which I ultimately ended up doing. When I also did that, he also master leased it back from me for 3 years, so that all of the dust could settle financially for him, and ultimately it all worked out well. Though I am neither a golfer nor do I operate a golf course. So Tom O'Brien is now operating the golf course, and Garvin McCluskey has been there, I guess, about 5 years, Garvin, now, 4.5.
Yeah.
The two of the three parking lots were there when I was involved, when I first started to get involved. The large asphalt parking lot on the, I think, west side of the property, and the smaller upper lot, which was also made out of asphalt. The area that was recently gravelled, which was, I guess, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was their overflow parking on grass. It sat on the foundation of an old building that was on site, and it was, in fact, my authorization that let them gravel it, because I was afraid of people injuring themselves, and I was concerned about liability. We did nothing other than gravel that area, and then we added a Belgian block medium with maple trees in the middle of both parking lots. But the upper parking lot and the lower parking lot were there when I got there. And since this conversation that we had and the letter I got, I've done a little look through the Google Pro Maps, and also through the Geological Survey from 1985, 1994, and 2006. And it shows pretty clearly the buildings, but it's clearly not a parking lot at that time. It's just what is left by the time we get there is a foundation on the large gravel parking lot now. And it looks like some other building in what was then later asphalted. I will plead ignorance, but I know ignorance is no excuse on something like this. I didn't have any idea that there was going to be a requirement to do anything, only because all we were doing was laying gravel on top of an existing parking location. Nonetheless, I completely understand that we need to submit for all of these things. And ultimately, if I'm going to have this golf course for the next 20 years, if I live that long, I would like it to be in full compliance. I have a really great tenant in Garvin McCloskey. I have a really good tenant in Tom O'Brien, and I want to make sure that they have a nice, happy environment to work within. Garvin, I'm a little more concerned about for this first round, only because Garvin has a time issue with regard to his liquor license and how it gets spread around the property. So I believe that if we were to separate these, I'd like to be able to prioritize Garvin's because Tom's Pro Shop, while important, there is still an existing shell in underneath the now Maggie Mays, which can suffice for the short term until we do a longer review and get this all in order the way you'd like us to be able to do it. I also did the site plan in a very simple way because I thought we were just looking at the shed, the extension of the deck, and then separately the little pro shop. If it requires a more extensive site plan, I'm happy to embark on that and get a local architect and a local engineer to do the research, to not just show what is there, but to show what's possible in terms of the dates of what was there so that we can do a history of it. I think, in fact, I don't want to guess. I'm not sure whether the gravel parking lot is in the wetland zone. It doesn't appear to be, but that's a layman's guess. So I would leave that to professionals to say. But I just wanted to let you know that I will apologize to the planning board because I didn't realize that we needed a permit. I thought these guys would just pull their little permits and off we'd go. But I'm happy to do whatever it takes and however long it takes to make it right. My main concern though is Garvin, because he has a good, successful restaurant that everybody seems to like, including me. And I'd like him to be able to do what he needs to do this summer to have a successful business after a really crummy year last year.
Thank you.
So, Andy, on the parking lots, so I took a drive in today, this afternoon. When you say the upper parking lot, obviously it's the upper parking lot.
The littlest one.
The littlest one that when you drive through, you had a large piece of equipment there today. I don't know if you were doing anything new, but there was a very large piece of equipment there. Just want to make sure that nothing new and big was happening without us.
They're putting a Belgian block border on the original parking lot. That's all. I'm trying to sort of upgrade and make everything, attractive. So they're putting a Belgian block edge along the existing forever parking lot, which has been in every photograph of the site forever.
Okay, so Andy, if you looked at the GIS and all of that, do you feel that large parking lot is the one that we're talking about of being in the wetlands or wetlands buffer, or was it the one of the small one on top?
So it was, give me 1 second here. He actually has them labeled on the site plan. They're numbered. You might as well call them. Let's see. So we had the parking lot 1, they call, is the one that's been there forever, the big one. And then parking lot 2 is a good size one that you were just describing as
gravel.
Right, you put the gravel in the Belgian box, and then there was one that's kind of obscured by trees, which it looked like some work had been done over there. I couldn't really tell from aerial photos, and I haven't been to the site, so.
Not during my tenure, and I don't believe
For long,
that one. I thought for a while it was an old tennis court or something because it's an odd size, but on the USGS survey that I saw, it looks like there's a structure there back in the 80s, but that's as much as I've got on it. But long since before I got there, that little parking lot has been there as either a staging area or as an overflow, and it's asphalted, and that wasn't us.
So the one that's labeled parking lot 3, you didn't do anything in there. You didn't do any work. So that's the one, Adele, yes, that is most likely in the. So the town of New Paltz regulates 100 feet, the 100-foot adjacent area around wetlands. So if it's 100 feet from a wetland, then it's regulated. So that would be the area that I would say is most likely number 3 in that 100-foot. But I don't know. I haven't been to the site, and I don't know exactly where the wetland is.
Okay,
Is there
Can I ask a question? Is there a map with the wetlands on it and the existing parking lots in the application?
No, the map they submitted is kind of, it
Yeah, I
has
saw it.
some information on it, but it's basically, you look at aerial photos and you can kind of tell where the wetlands are, and if you've been to the site, and it's clearly a wetland to the south and west of there. It's just a question of, is it within 100 feet of where they do work? Is really the
Right, so the largest one, when you pull in on the left, that's we're calling that parking lot 1, correct? And that one's not near the buffer, is that what you're saying? Or
that one is in the buffer, but it's already there. I'm almost certain that one is in the 100 feet, but it's,
okay. But that one was already existing.
Right.
And then I'm sorry, so the second parking lot, is that already existing as well?
The second parking lot is one that they built. There used to be grass, now it's gravel. And that one is farther away from the wetter area.
Okay. So I think I'd like to see a plan that has the wetlands on it with what you have in place. And that I think would be a good starting point.
Sure.
So we can make some real, decisions about what we're going to do. That's just a suggestion.
Sounds like the wetlands inspector needs to go out there. Andy, you agree?
Yes, definitely. He's, I think they should probably get their own wetland biologist, because it's gonna need to get delineated. I guess it's possible that Mark will say that it's clearly more than 100 feet and that they don't need to get it delineated by a professional, but I would think that in almost any scenario, they're going to need their own wetland biologist to flag it and show where it is.
Okay.
Well, Mark can tell us whether in his assessment it would require a permit.
Right. It kind of depends on how far into the buffer we're talking about, the quality of the buffer area, right? I'm just trying to think like how we can move it along as efficiently as possible. So I think those are some first steps that we need to kind of get on the table and just figure out where we're at so we can have a starting point and then do what we have to do from there. Does that sound right, Ashley? No?
Yes, I think that sounds right. And again, related to the buffer issue is also whether the parking lots needed site plan approval. So in addition to possibly the wetland permit, but whether they also were, even if they're existing, whether they weren't approved before they were constructed, so they require some type of other approval. But I think that's all. The wetlands are definitely relevant to the seeker review, so it's things you're going to want to be finding out at the beginning what's needed, what type of approvals are needed, and then you could look at seeker of the whole action.
So it does get a little murky here about our funds, aside from the timing, and Garvin somehow with a fairly simple site plan has gotten now involved in this
I don't know what I'm going to do.
huge thing. Aside from that, for the moment, like what we have in escrow from Garvin, we can only either use that money from escrow, and we also need to set up an escrow for Tom O'Brien. And how's that going to work? Because this is where it gets complicated on who's paying for this, but we're not.
Yes,
So
I can speak to that really quick. I talked to the bookkeeper for the town this morning because I was curious about how we could do this if there was a way that we wouldn't have to go through the whole thing of creating a new escrow account, because it takes like a week and a half, 2 weeks to open a new escrow account because the town board has to sign off on it. And I need like a million different pieces of paper signed to get it open. So if we're using an escrow account, she can very easily change the application number and say, it's this application number related to 215 Huguenot Street. It would kind of be up to the applicants if they want to, between them discuss, putting money towards that escrow account. Because right now there's $4,000 in there. When it hits $2,000, I have to ask for more to get it back up to 4,000. Arlene seemed to think that if we got something in writing, where maybe from Ashley's office or from Rick's office, kind of saying that everyone understands that, Garvin is kind of the tenant of the account, so to speak, since he opened it. So when we close it, he's the one that would get the money back, technically. That's how it would work. Because there's also, if you really wanted to, we could go through a whole thing of closing it, which requires multiple meetings, and then just give him the check back and then open a new one. But again, it would take weeks.
Well, also, we're going to have 2 separate site plan reviews. So I think that since technically Garvin opened it, Garvin, I don't know, Ashley, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Garvin has to agree for us to be able to tap into that to do this review of the parking lot, I would imagine.
Well, don't worry, because then he'll be tapping into me.
Yeah,
yes, but that's not for us to say, right? So I think it's.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that Garvin already has the one escrow account, and then there'd be a second escrow account set for the O'Brien's application. And then as far as seeker, you're going to be doing the environmental review together, whether it's going to just be split down the middle between them. That's something I think really the applicant and owner should figure out how they'd want to do that, what makes the most sense for them. And
Can I speak to that?
Just hold on a second, Garvin.
Okay.
It appears to me, I mean, I did ask around what, although I didn't speak to Mark, but our wetlands inspector, but it does seem to be now that the possibility exists that we're going to need a wetlands permit, and there's going to be additional work from Andy and additional work for the attorney, that it's likely it would be an additional $5,000, all told. Possibly it's only an escrow. So I don't know where to put that, is what I'm saying. Are we going to set that up with Mr. O'Brien? Are we going to, I don't know where to put that. I mean, what I'd like to do, which I know we can't do, is set that up with Mr. Gilmore. But I don't think, since we have no application from Mr. Gilmore, I don't see how that's possible.
I mean, I filled out the application, but Tom Gilmore is the one that signed it. Right?
Well, you signed as the applicant, he signed as the owner, so you both signed it.
Mhm.
But then the question is, if we do just keep these 2 applications, then which one do we put the parking lot in?
Are we talking about lot number 2 or lot number 3 for a wetlands permit?
We're talking about sending the wetlands inspector out to find out if we need a wetlands permit, to look at
number
both
3?
To look at both of the lots that
Okay.
have not come before us for any kind of approval, or
Okay.
before the building inspector. Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you. I'm not sure what's possible and what's not, but I'm wondering if Garvin has his escrow, Tom opens his escrow, and then tomorrow or the next day or a few days from now, I submit a separate application for the parking lots so that their individual requests as far as structures or uses are separate and apart from the overall parking question, which I'm happy to make an application and begin the process of the environmental.
So in my understanding is, maybe we can do that, but when we look at any of those applications, the seeker is going to all be together, as Ashley explained. Otherwise, it's considered a segmented application, and that's not allowed. So, I mean, maybe it's possible for you to set up a separate escrow and put in an application for the parking lots, but my understanding, is that correct, Ashley? Is that
correct? So I think we really need to know, what approvals are required for the parking lots in order to classify the action under seeker. So if the parking lots weren't an issue, then it would be a type 2 action. Even the 2 the two applications that are before you now would be considered a type 2. So it would be very simple seeker determination. There'd be no further environmental review. So it's really the parking lots that are making it, potentially elevating it into the unlisted category. So I think that suggestion perhaps makes sense, that if Mr. Gilmore wants to submit an application for the parking lots and be responsible as the owner for the seeker review of, essentially it would be of all items on the property. And he could always work out with the tenants any type of contribution, but I think perhaps that would make the most sense from the planning board's view to have it all come from that one place.
Ashley, you suggesting he put an application in for everything? That's not what you're saying.
No, for the parking
For the
lots.
Parking lots. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Amanda,
Do we have to complete seeker before we can look at any of the site plan applications to review them?
You could look at the site plan application, you just won't be able to take any action.
So that's what I guess, that's where the disconnect is happening, because we have one site plan application that sort of has his timing is kind of more critical than the other two, but the seeker is going to take the more time and be the last escrow setup, right? So.
well, we can set an escrow tonight for Mr. Gilmore. We can set an escrow tonight for Mr. O'Brien.
Okay.
And can we, Ashley, without an application, set one for Mr. Gilmore?
I mean, it's an odd process, but he said he will be submitting the application. So it would be, the escrow for that application that's going to be submitted, I suppose. If you want to do it that way you don't waste any time, and can open it once he submits.
Okay. Matt,
So Ashley, are you saying that the two applications, are like one for Garvin's and one for Mr. O'Brien, are going to be type 2 actions anyway?
No, because that would be a segmented review. So if this issue with the parking lots wasn't here, then yes, they wouldn't even consider together, would be a type 2, I believe, based on the
Okay,
sizes.
so- all right. So can we, I'm just throwing this out there. I have no idea, but can we fix, like, clean up this parking lot situation first and wrap that up and do those other two? Or we can't do it that way, is what you're saying. We can't do it that, right?
I'm not sure. Well, you have to consider for purposes of seeker everything, even if, you wanted
Right.
to first
So
get
what
that
I'm
approved.
saying- Right. So what I'm saying is Mr. Gilmore submits his application. We take an escrow from him today. He submits his application tomorrow. We start on that process as soon as possible, get him moving, get him up to date, get him where he needs to be. Right. then
And
we
you
deal
could
with
still be
that.
reviewing also. I know that Andy had some comments still on the other applications too, from a
Okay.
site plan perspective. Those issues could still be, looked at and worked out with the applicant, and they could kind of go along the same path. Just you'll have to finish that seeker review before taking action.
That's what I'm suggesting, that we do those other two, like, simultaneously while
Mhm.
we're fixing this parking lot situation. I don't know if that's allowed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You review them as you're figuring
none
out.
of
I
this is
think
happening, excuse me, none of this is happening tomorrow. That's the problem. I mean, I'm so sorry that these applicants got rolled into this, but we don't have a choice. I mean, we have other applicants that have parking lots in wetlands that we have to treat everyone the same way. And so I think we have to do it this way. So I'm going to suggest for Mr. O'Brien a $2,000 escrow, and I'm going to suggest for Mr. Gilmore a $4,000 escrow. And let's vote
Del,
on
can I
this.
just ask a question because it
Who is
impacts?
that? I don't even see you. Oh, hi, Jane.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
When we talked last time, and I'm trying to sort of clear up for Garvin the issue, because he wants to expand his seating. And when you do that, you have to have the parking to.
I don't.
You don't. The outside is not, but the parking came up with that. So in other words, your parking is not gonna be affected by your seating.
Can I speak?
Yes,
Thank-
Garvin.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, folks, for everything. Really, when I was on the last time, little did we know that it would come to anything like this. You know, as far as I'm concerned, right? Can I just say personally, from the last point of view, that we had kind of agreed that if I put in a simplified site plan, which I did, and I more than did, and submitted it, that we would look at it again in the context of this. If you forget about parking lot 2 and 3, and this is what I'm asking you to do for my application. Okay.
That's what I was going to suggest to you, to
Yeah,
just
so-
if we could possibly liberate you from the
Okay, so-
parking
Cannot.
So yes, thank you, Jane. This is what I'm really asking you. And I came to you cap in hand before, and it's the same way. Like, I had the Department of Health in the other day, and the gentleman covers half of Ulster County, and he told me 40 restaurants had closed down, and I was expecting another 10 because they weren't renewing their permits. That is the situation I'm in. And you know, the outdoor seating saved my business last year. I have 25 people, you know, employed. At the height of the season, I'll have 40 people employed if I'm able to open. So take away parking lot 2 and 3. Just look at parking lot 1. That's what was originally there. I am not looking for any extra seating. I've already spoken about that. But really what we're migrating, Jane, we're migrating the indoor seating to be outside. And you know, it's very seasonal. It's going to be really from May till October. If you take, like, I've always been a good corporate citizen in New Paltz. We've had beautiful weather for the last 2 weeks. I haven't actually seated anybody outside because I want the grass on the lawns to regrow again and stuff. So it's not what we're about. You know, you're asking the last time if I was going to sell the place. I've signed. Oh no, sorry, not you, Jane. But one of the questions that came up, excuse me, one of the questions that came up as well. You're a good guy, but what if you sell it? Well, yes, I can sell it, but you know, I've signed a 25-year lease with Tom Gilmore, and I have a great relationship with Tom and Tom O'Brien. We work really, really well together. I have my son in there, and you know, the expectancy is, you know, that he's going to continue the thing. Any of you that know me and Garvin's know that it's a high quality thing. So, you know, we're not looking for any existing, any additional, you know, facilities. We're very happy with our capacity at 99 in Garvin's and at 69 in Maggie Mays. It's great. If I can migrate some of those, you know, people don't want to come inside. You know, I'm very lucky to have some indoor seating and stuff, but I can't stay open like this.
No, we just wanted to make it clear that I was trying to liberate you from the parking issue.
I know. Okay.
It's clear. Answered, asked and answered. Thank you, Garvin.
I
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I just want to adjust that, and with Ashley's help, I don't think, Garvin, that we can liberate you from, because it's one property. You know, this is all on one parcel, and we can't separate it. If there are violations on the parcel, I don't see how we can just clear one application. Ashley, you can correct me, and I'm happy to be corrected. I wish I could.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do understand the situation, but it can't be, the environmental review can't be segmented. So if these parking lots are an issue that now require approval, that are now part of the action, the environmental review under seeker has to look at, you know, impacts of all of that before it could issue any approval for the site at all. So I guess, could be liberated in the sense that once seeker's complete, then, you know, nothing will hold you up. You don't have to wait until the parking lots are approved necessarily. If there were things, you know, if you're not needing any, to rely on any of those unimproved parking areas. I guess it depends where your spaces are, whether they're in that original lot or not. That was approved, but it really would be segmentation to try and split that. So I think we just start proceeding and start getting things moving with the seeker review and take it from there.
Okay, so can we,
Unbelievable.
Andy, those amounts sound reasonable to you for the, okay, so I'm gonna ask for a vote on the escrow for these for Mr. O'Brien's application, and then I'd like to review that application, which is before us. Andy, you have some comments on his application, or no? Just,
Yeah, just.
oh, we don't
that-
have to zoom now. I'd like to do
Okay.
his escrow first. Okay,
Okay.
can someone make a motion for $2,000 escrow for Mr. O'Brien?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Amanda, is there any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Okay. So, is there anything on Mr. O'Brien's application? We're gonna call this his application review for tonight that has nothing to do with the parking lots.
I think his affidavit of ownership is not complete. It's like it's signed, but nothing's filled in.
Okay, so that's one.
So what is the building exact? Is it 2-story pro shop? Is that what it is?
It's a building from Gray's Woodworks across from Lowe's. It's a garage, basically, pre-built. And we're gonna put it there and we're gonna fix it up inside to be a pro shop. It was the quickest thing to do and easiest, we thought.
You're gonna have electricity, obviously, in there. You're gonna have water in there too?
We plan to put a bathroom in there, but we don't need to if it's gonna hold things up.
I don't think it's gonna hold it up more than the parking lot, so.
You just have to make sure the water and septic's in the right place, right?
Mhm. Okay,
So
do you have any other comments on that, Andy? And then I'll ask for comments, questions from the board.
No, not specifically on the pro shop, no.
Okay,
They do need to show if they have a bathroom, where's the sewage gonna go? Yeah. Where's
okay.
the water? Yeah.
Amanda, did you have something?
no, I was on that one. I think, we don't have a map I'm not clear. I see all the drawings of what the building's gonna look like, but I don't see on the map exactly where it's going. So
Matt,
So Mr. O'Brien, am I understanding this correctly? You're gonna put one of those large, like 2-bay garages with 2 floors on it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
You want to
it's
put a
20
bathroom in there? And I assume that bathroom's gonna be tied to the leach field of the existing Maggie Mays? Is that what's happening?
I
Or,
don't think it's Maggie Mays. It's the big leach field that we have.
okay. So Andy, he's gonna have to go through Department of Health, correct? If he puts a bathroom?
Not necessarily. If you're adding people to the system, so say if you're adding golfers, you're adding rest seats to the restaurant, then possibly. But this might be it's the same people just going to the bathroom in a different spot, same employees. So
Gotcha.
it may not, but I think they need to find out. They should find out from the health department, whatever if they do need that.
Right, so he's gonna have to, and then the water situation, I assume that's gonna come from the main building. We're not gonna be drilling new wells. Right,
No, we can get it there from one of the existing wells.
right, okay. I've seen what you're talking about, the 2-story big garages. I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's going on the map. You can see it. It's on our first tee on the golf course. It's small. It's a little square in the back of the tee.
I need a bit.
And it sits on a pad, I'm sure.
It's on a pad. The building's 24 by 18, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it's 432 square feet. I guess it doesn't include the pad, but that's the building itself.
that's with both stories?
Well, that's what's on the site plan application.
That's probably the footprint.
Yeah, it's probably the footprint.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashley, does that still make it a type 2 action with an 800 square foot building? Is it 800 square feet, 2 stories?
I'm not sure the second floor is a full, well, it's hard to tell. It's kind of got one of those barn roofy kind of things, you know?
It's not as big as down the bottom with the roof like that, stairs coming up.
Okay,
So it's the total gross floor area that it goes by. So
okay.
I think
So
it's in the
we're not gonna
drawings.
type this tonight anyway, I don't think. I think we'll wait. Okay, so anything else for this application without the parking lot? Any, no? Okay, all right, Mr. O'Brien, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, maybe we can, I know this is unusual, Ashley, but maybe we can vote on escrow for Mr. Gilmore so he can get started. And we can maybe get our wetlands inspector out as soon as we get a check. We can call, or we can start even beforehand to at least set up a time for our wetlands inspector to go out once we get the escrow approved and done. So the amount that I said was $4,000. So I have a motion to set up a $4,000 escrow for Mr. Gilmore.
I move to set up a $4,000 escrow for Mr. Gilmore.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and you have a, is that Hugo Enterprises or something like that? And that's how you, okay. All right, great. Okay, thank you. Let's take a look at Garvin's application without the parking lot. There were things that needed to get addressed. Andy, can we talk about everything in Garvin's application that doesn't have to do with the parking lot?
So one of the things was just showing showing a little bit more on the site plan, and they did that this time. It's still missing a couple things, like the property lines don't seem to be shown quite right on that, and we wanted to show a little more detail, which we'll probably get into more with the parking lot. But specifically for Garvin's, we wanted to see, where is this seating area? How big is it? How many seats? What is he asking for? He said some of these things at the meeting. He wants 50, but I think putting that on the plan, this is what you want. Basically, you want 50 seats in this spot. This is how big it is. Is there? I hear you might be adding a fence now. Really showing everything that you want to do, and then this issue of, is he adding? It's 50 seats, but we're not. He has 99 seats inside. He's not making it a 149 seat restaurant for part of the year. That I think needs to be somewhere in the approval that says that we're not, we're not approving 49 more seats for this restaurant, even if it's only part of the year.
Good.
Okay, was there anything else?
Just to be clear, these are going to be 3 different applications.
And 3
Yes,
different
that are all gonna get reviewed under one seeker, which
Okay, so-
sounded to me that could happen, right, Ashley? That's what sounds like that can happen. I know I spoke to Rick and he felt that 2 could happen, separate site plan reviews. That's what he.
yeah, as long as the seeker is looking at all 3 together for purposes of the environmental impacts, you're not segmenting that. They're each on their own site plan course. But as long as the environmental's looking at all of them together, then that wouldn't be a problem.
We don't know if Mr. Gilmore's will be a site plan application and or a wetlands permit
Wetlands buffer.
application. So, because that's going to affect, if he submits a whole application, there are fees associated with that in addition to the escrow. So that's a little confusing.
You mean the amount of the application for a wetlands permit?
Yeah,
Which we're not sure if he needs yet
no.
until the wetlands inspector goes out and inspects.
I mean, would he be able to go out there and look at the site and we can get permission from Garvin to use his escrow to cover that review, just so we know if the permit is needed at all?
I think that he's entitled to the one-time just look to say, I don't know what he can find. Amanda might know more about that. You don't think that one-time look's gonna do anything, right?
No, that's a kind of binary, like, yes, you have a wetland, no, you don't. It doesn't tell you much more than that. Like, it doesn't delineate it and say if you're gonna need a permit.
Okay.
Garvin wants to say something.
So yes, I see. Hold on, Garvin. We're not forgetting you.
No problem.
So how much is a application, wetlands application?
Wetlands permit fee is $250. And then the site plan, in addition to that,
We don't know if he's,
yeah, is different. I mean, if it's just the wetland, it's $250.
okay, so you can make that application for 250, Mr. Gilmore, and then give us the escrow that we asked. And just to get this thing moving. And then worry about site plan later, right?
You can go
We
to,
don't think he is gonna have a site plan review for the 2 parking lots necessarily. We're gonna take a look and see.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a wetland, on, or the parking lot is not in the wetlands buffer, is it possible that he can just get a permit from, if there's no wetlands and there's no wetlands buffer, can he just get a permit from the building inspector? I don't know.
for the
I
parking.
don't think so. You're saying no, Andy, huh? Okay.
No, I don't believe that you can build, we could ask Stacy, but I don't think you can build any kind of parking for commercial development without site plan approval.
Okay, but the escrow should be able to cover. So I think we're good. Let's put in the application. Ashley, for the wetlands permit, you think
So
that's
do you
fine?
want to do that, or since it's not clear yet, do you want to start with the site plan and then have the wetlands inspector go out there, see whether you need the wetlands permit, and then add that on later?
Okay,
Since I think you're gonna
Yeah,
need site
that'll
plan
be
in
better.
any event.
okay.
Can I just make a suggestion? I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Can I just make a suggestion? It might help you out a little bit. If I'm not going to get what I'm looking for, so the reason that we're looking to separate these was to give me a chance to stay in business. Thanks very much. But if I'm not going to get that tonight, okay, what I would suggest to make it easy for you guys and to make it easy for everybody, and I don't know if the other 2 guys are okay with it, but if I'm not getting it, just why not put one application, use my escrow, I'll bump up my escrow, I can talk to the 2 other fellas about and put in one application, because you know what, if I'm not getting it, it's going to make life easier for all you guys if there's one application for the next meeting and we get on with it and we try to get on with our lives, you know. I just thought it'd be a rubber stamp tonight, but sure, I'm wrong. But that's okay. Life goes on, you know, we'll be fine. We'll still be here. We're tough. Us Irish guys. What do you think of that? Is that any help or, you know?
Right, Andy, he could get a simplified site plan, no?
No,
Why, because it's commercial?
no, because it's not interior. It's changes on the exterior. He's adding a deck and and he's not, a simplified site plan is when you don't change, you're just doing things interior, like moving a wall or, things like that, and you're not really doing anything outside.
No, I'm just talking about if Mr. Gilmore puts one in for the existing parking lots.
No,
I'm just trying to figure it out.
yeah. What I'm wondering is, how did last year, so Garvin's Restaurant had outdoor seating last year. They just didn't have the deck and the shed. But is there anything that keeps him from putting chairs and tables out on his grass? Or is that not going to do it?
There is, yeah.
It's the liquor license.
Yeah, well, the liquor license is okay. I have, the state liquor authority has amended my liquor license to allow outdoor dining, but I asked you to rubber stamp it for count the town approval, which I was advised that I should do, and that's why I'm asking you. Like, maybe I should just not ask at all, but like, I just want to do everything right. And the same with Tom Gilmore and Tom O'Brien is like,
I'll do that.
I just want to do everything right, so I'm not going to do that. I'll be honest with you. So that's why I'm here, but I'm also trying to stay in business. And but like, if it's not like what I'm suggesting, then I'm a grown up man, and look, I'll still be here. Don't you worry about that. But if it's going to make it easier for everybody, and if it's going to speed up the fact, because you're talking about if Mr. Gilmore opens up an escrow tomorrow, that it takes a week and a half for that to, to get opened and all the rest. If it's going to make it a little bit easier, and we might have an answer at some reasonable time, yes or no, I would be more than happy to, you can bump up my escrow and I can talk to the two other guys and they can, contribute to it or whatever. That's all I'm saying. Amanda, I would not go out there without, permission,
Oh, I just thought maybe if there was some kind of like, they let things happen last year, I mean, it's still.
Yeah. That's why I was out there. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Amy, did you want to say something?
It's just starting to seem like,
I can't hear you.
hold on.
No,
Muted. Unmute.
Hear me now?
Yes.
a little.
Hear me now?
Yes.
So I was just gonna say that it seems like this thing just turned into a can of worms for
Yeah.
Garvin.
For me,
And, he just, he wants to do this thing so he can feed more people and let them socially distance outside. But if that's really not going to work and he can't have that at his restaurant this summer, then maybe, we have to listen to him. Maybe he doesn't really want to go through this, because if he can't have what he wants, like, it's not his property and he just wants to stay in business and work hard. And let me just ask our attorney, if he just withdrew his application, would this entire thing just go away?
Well, the parking
Would
lots
what
wouldn't
go away? I mean, if he withdrew his application, then his part would go away, but the other, the other parts would still be there. So the parking issue would still have to get resolved. And again, if they are kept separate, I do think that's probably the most streamlined way for him, that if it's kept separate, that way, once the environmental review is looked at, then you could have your application completed while the other ones are still perhaps working out the details. So if you merge them all, it might take longer, and that would definitely, I think, be the better way to try and do it. But if he wants to withdraw, then that's something different. But the other elements of the application.
Okay,
I'm just asking, like, if he can't get this accomplished, like in the next month or two, and he misses the season with it, then perhaps as a business person, it really doesn't make sense for him to invest in the deck right now. I'm not speaking for him because I really don't know how he feels. I'm a business person, and I'm just asking why somebody would want to go through this if they're not going to very likely get what they want, and they're going to end up having to do all this other stuff and come to all these meetings that they don't really want to go to. So, I mean, I could see that he wants this deck, but if he's not going to get it in the next month or two, then maybe we should let him know how, like, a time span, so he could decide if this is worth pursuing or if he just wants to go home now. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
it really just is going to depend on when things are submitted and when, the board's able to evaluate the impacts of the entire action. So once, if Mr. Gilmore submits everything, quickly, like he seems like he intends to do, the board could, again, everyone needs to, hasn't been a EAF submitted yet for any of the applications. Once the board has enough to be able to make a determination on seeker, then that'll allow him to move forward. I can't give a timeline because it's factors that are beyond my control.
Okay, so I'm gonna just bring this back a little bit. I'm really sorry that this wasn't gonna happen. This wasn't gonna happen anyway tonight, Garvin, because we don't have the EAF. There was still some things that needed to happen. There wasn't, but what I'm thinking, Garvin, you're saying is you're not saying you're gonna remove your application. Right? That's not what you're saying, right?
Absolutely not.
Right. So I think what he's saying is that rather than having Mr. Gilmore open a whole separate application, that Mr. Gilmore tag on to Garvin's application which already has an escrow.
Yep.
Adds the money for the escrow so that we can get this moving more quickly. Yes, did I have that right, Garvin?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
I think that's what he was saying. Keep his application going, but get this moving tomorrow, which we could conceivably do because we have that account open. I
Exactly.
think that's the way we should do it also, and I'm happy that.
Do you need the
that is
account
the-
do you need the account to be open to, because I know you set the escrow, so I know administratively it might take a few days to actually get the account up, but when the wetlands inspector goes out to look at something, are they paid ahead of time or are they just billed to the escrow?
Here's what I think, though. I think it just gets billed, but the town
doesn't want me to do
billing
anything
department
unless
is a little
there's
slow.
money there. They don't want me to do anything unless we know the money is already there. So that's where I'm coming from. That's why, like, we don't send anyone out, or we don't let you come back to a meeting unless the money is there, because
It's true. We have some funny rules in the town that you know. So I think that's a great idea. If Mr. Gilmore agrees today, we don't have to set that escrow up. We have to undo that whole motion.
is Mr. O'Brien's going to be in that as well, or is it just going to be two then?
No, I think there should be two.
Okay.
I think Mr. Bryan should, even though we'll do the same seeker for both, I think we'll do the site plan for Mr. O'Brien separately. And Garvin, I think, has agreed to work with Mr. Gilmore if Mr. Gilmore agrees, and we can get that piece settled.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
I just wanted to make sure everyone understands what that means, that it's going to be, now the parking lots are going to be part of Garvin's application. So that's all going to have to be resolved. So if you're complete seeker, but there's still, other things with the parking lots that are an issue, you won't be able to approve just half of the application. It has to be the whole thing together.
but it will always have to have been that, won't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, if you were going to separate, you had the Garvin's site plan separate from, the parking lot site plan. The seeker is always going to be together, but the actual site plan approvals would be separate. So now that's going to be together as one, which I thought was the intent behind not having a comprehensive application with all of them, was to avoid something like that.
So if the seeker's one, the site plans are separate, can one escrow handle the seeker for all three site plans? Just for the seeker part of it?
It doesn't make sense. But then we're still talking about setting up escrows for the site plan. That doesn't make sense.
Right, but if his escrow can handle the seeker, can handle the wetlands visit, that's mostly what he needs, is to handle the wetlands visit, right? Because otherwise we're waiting for a couple of weeks. You got to send it to the town board to approve it, and then she's got to set up the accounts and all that. And we might not be able to talk about it on our next meeting at the 26th. But if the wetlands inspector could go out this week, because there's money in an escrow account for this parcel.
Okay, so let's back this up. So let's run this again. So what Garvin, I think what Amanda is saying, or maybe not, I don't know, is that, and what Ashley is saying also, what Ashley is suggesting is if you and Tom Gilmore get into one application, it in the end might slow you down. So that's what the attorney is saying, correct, Ashley? Because the seeker will have to happen together, but if there's more that has to happen with the parking lot after the seeker, then you're stuck waiting for that. Whereas, but what Amanda is suggesting is that with your escrow, we send the wetland inspector out. That's what you're suggesting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And we still keep Tom Gilmore's escrow so that I've never had anything like this happen. So, and I'm not that new at this, so it's unusual. So that Mr. Gilmore, we'll keep your escrow, we'll keep it as is, but Garvin has agreed to allow the wetlands inspector to go out and review the parking lot. That way your parking lot doesn't hold up his project. Okay, is that what you mean?
Yeah, because
Ashley, you good with that too? Okay.
Yes. Do you normally do a specific motion to have authorize the wetlands inspector to go out or? Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Are there any other questions from the planning board?
Yeah, I just have a stupid, I still don't understand. Seeker's gonna hold up everything no matter what. No improvements can be done to the site until seeker is completed, correct?
Correct.
Doesn't matter whose application it is.
That's right.
Okay.
But then, if I understood Ashley, after seeker, these applications are all separate. So if the parking lot needs work, Mr. Gilmore will take care of that. We could still approve Garvin's
Is
after
that,
seeker
is
is
that
done.
correct, Ashley?
Yes?
Is that correct?
Yes, so seeker needs to be completed. They're all part of the same action, but they're on then different courses that if the impacts are all looked at, then you could approve one before, you don't have to do them all at the same time.
Okay, that's what I was mentioning.
Okay, I apologize for not being more up on those rules, but I've never had this before. And maybe I can forget those rules after this is over because maybe we'll never have it again. So, okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna send a wetlands inspector out, Garvin, to take a look at the parking lot as soon as we can. Is there anything else, Andy, that you would suggest happen in anticipation of the seeker review?
The only thing I would add is, while we're on Garvin's application, is that your site plan, whatever, assuming we keep yours separate, like you're just asking for seating, whatever, that your site plan only has what you want on there. It doesn't have the pro shop on it, and so that we can, when the time comes, approve just what you're asking for.
Okay.
And I guess my only other thought is maybe, it was hard for me to tell what they actually built from aerial photos. I know something was built that they shouldn't have, but if it may in fact be not nearly as much as we thought. So maybe I can go out on the site visit as well with Mark and just see what they did basically.
Yeah.
And because the level of site plan approval, I think, is going to vary a lot depending on how extensive this parking lot is and what we're going to request out of them. Typically, if you came in and said, I want to build 30 parking spaces, there's the whole code for that. There's lighting, there's bicycle racks, there's electric charging, there's all kinds of landscaping. There's a code on building parking lots. So I think understanding what you guys really did, how big is it, how extensive is it, is going to determine how detailed of a site plan we need. So I think it would help. It would help me. I don't know if other planning board members want to go out there as well, but to see what they did, basically.
So, typically when we're doing one of these and we're all sitting at the table, someone's taking all the notes and the applicant gets a copy of what it is specifically they need to do. I think, for the Garvin application, because we want to keep him moving along. I know Andy has said there's a couple other things that he wants to see. I mean, he just talked about how he wants to see this one showing only that part of it, but there were some other things that need to show up. Let's just make sure we're really clear, or we can send him something afterwards so that when he comes to the next meeting, we don't say, oh, then you needed these two other things done. We want to give him everything so it can move, because we can look at all of that quickly and then just have it waiting, when it's with
Okay.
his part's
I don't know,
good.
Andy, will you be able to do that? Because it's only a few items, or because I'm not sure if Alana knows. You're asking what exactly you're asking for.
So now that I know that we're definitely separating the three projects. So Garvin's plan, yours just really needs to show, what are you proposing? How big is this seating area that you want to put in. How many seats is it? Your plan was missing some property lines. We need to have the property lines on there. Doesn't include anything that's not related to your application. You're not proposing a pro shop or a parking lot. And I think it might make sense to have some notes right on that plan, in my opinion, that talks about the seating issue, that you're not, this is how many seats you have. You're asking for temporary or whatever it is to be right on that site plan.
Okay.
And then I think those were my issues with Garvin's particular part.
All right.
And just on that too, I think I saw some conflict between the size of the deck extension on the plan versus what was written. So just to make sure it's clear what the size of that extension is.
Yeah, it says 245 square feet where it's 256 square feet. But if that's a difference that needs to be rectified, absolutely, yeah.
And actually, he needs a short form EAF. Do you want them to each have their own? Or?
Yeah, that makes sense. A short form EAF
Okay.
should be submitted using the mapper. And someone could send the link to that if you need it.
I can send the link.
And let's keep our fingers crossed. There's no bald eagles or pie-billed grebes or whatever.
And also, I believe it does require the referral to Ulster County Planning Board, so.
All of them?
Because?
Well, here you're adding the shed, right? So it's not just like the reuse of a existing building.
Right, it's a small shed.
Is this my shed? There was some kind of a,
Yes.
yeah. When I got here 5 years ago, there was some kind of a shed out there, and it was like a lot of things around there at that particular time. It was like an awful shape, so I just got rid of it at the time. So there was a shed there, actually. There was like a resort, there was a hotel there, there was a motel there. So there was a shed there at one time. So I don't know what you call that. Like,
Yeah.
again, I'm just getting back to trying to do the thing the right way. I don't think it would be very visible where it is even.
Well, that won't be a problem if you do it, if we can get it into Ulster County Planning Board for the first week of May. If you can show where that shed is, remember the setbacks are important. You keep it back from the property line, all that.
Yeah, I amended it, Amanda. It's on the simplified site plan that you have there. So it's actually not anywhere near any property lines. It's just beside my event space. It's about probably. It's actually, I can tell you how far it is away. It's 57. Let's see. So it's close to it's close to the actual building or at the back of Garvin's. So it was originally, we agreed that I would move it at the last meeting. It was up against the property line. And on the site plan that you have there, Andy, you'll see that you would be happy enough with that, right?
Yeah, it's not close to the property line like it was, but the plan that you have doesn't have the property lines on there.
That makes it hard to tell. We have to be able to tell.
I know,
Okay.
yeah, but the one that I'll submit to you will have that, and yeah, that's nowhere near it.
What I can tell you, county's going to look at, is it on a county? They're going to look at their traffic impact. Is there an intersection impact? Is it on a county or state road? So otherwise they'll say no county impact. So, but they have to see it. So don't be scared of that. Just get it right and get it into them so they don't ask for it to come back for anything. And they'll look at it May 6th or whatever it is, May 5th. And we'll hear the next day or the next 2 days, they'll give us their answer back. So then we can keep going.
Yeah, so Alana could get that over to the county. That way they could review that at the first.
As soon as possible, the sooner they get it so that they don't reject us to their meeting.
Just for the shed, is it?
It's your whole thing, your whole plan, your whole application. The shed's what's making it go, but they want to see.
Yeah, or because it's not just the reuse, you're adding, I guess, also adding the deck too. It's
right,
not just a reuse.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'll take
Anything else that we need? Ashley, do you think we need anything else?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
So we're gonna wait for Garvin's completed to refer it to county, right? We're gonna get it like real quick and then refer it? Alana, how soon does it have to go?
I think they have like I think as long as you get it in at least 2 weeks before, but I feel like I've interacted with him so much, like I've sent him stuff a little bit late and he's fine with it.
The 21st would be 2 weeks before, so oh, no, that's wrong. It would be the 28th, so.
no,
Get in
the
before-
28th is a week before.
28th a week. So maybe the 21st.
Oh, that's right, it's on the 2nd, sorry. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong, I'm not looking at May, I'm looking at.
Marvin,
June.
if you
It's
could
on
get
the
that to
5th,
us
yeah,
in
so the
about a week,
21st.
that would work. That would be best. Ideally, if you can get that to us in a week or 8 days, that would be best. And that way we'll be within their time frame where they couldn't really turn us down. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're all set. Thank you, applicants.
Thank you.
Mr.
Very
McCoskey,
thorough.
Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Gilmore. And we'll just move on from here as best we can. And hopefully we'll come to Garvin's and have some cocktails this summer as
Tacos?
outside, outdoors.
Oh, outdoors. Tacos.
Okay. All right, so let's all hope for the best and good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
very much.
you. Okay,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
so do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, is there anything else? Anything else? Any other comments? You know, actually, did we want to have a discussion about our site visit at Mr. Albrecht's property? Anyone have any comments about that?
You wanna wait until he's actually here or?
No, he's not here, but we did have a site visit and we were going to decide whether or not we wanted to recommend the wetlands inspector. And it's probably appropriate to do that now rather than wait. Is that allowed? Where's Ashley? We had a site visit at,
Who's Rich?
excuse me, no, we're fine. At Mr. Albrecht's property at Albany Post Road. Many members, the planning board was there. I don't know if anybody else went on Monday morning. But we were discussing that we didn't know if there was a need for a wetlands inspector. And so, is it okay for us to talk about it even though he's not here and doesn't know we're talking about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always best to have the applicant present, but
Okay, then we'll wait.
if you could, I mean, if it's something where it's just gonna be a quick vote because you want to get them out there soon.
Does anyone have a, yeah, I think, I mean, let's take a straw poll as to who thinks we need a wetlands inspector. Who does, so who was there? Jen was there, I was there, Amanda was there. Matt was there, Matt was not there, Lyle was there, and Jane was there. So there were 5 of us.
Well,
Who
we'll
believes-
be basing it on, because he hasn't, like, we need the wetlands inspector to determine where the subdivision is going, or because he hasn't put in a site plan for where the house is going.
Yes, he has.
Oh, yeah.
did.
Well,
I guess if
And
you
I don't think
look
that
at
where the house is
there.
going matters to us right now, right? I mean, that's something else. He's not gonna be able to put a house in the wetlands or the wetlands buffer. That's not gonna happen whether or not we have a wetlands inspector or not. Correct, Andy? So,
Well,
Oh,
I
go
think
ahead.
it does matter that, the whole idea of trying to find out where the wetland is to see if they're disturbing the 100-foot buffer of it, right? Because then that.
right, so, right. But he didn't ask for a house yet. He just asked for a subdivision. The only thing he has to prove, I believe, and Ashley can help me, is that he can put a house there. Right? Every subdivision has to be able to have.
Show that they're buildable lots, that
It's a
they're.
buildable lot. So we don't need to really know exactly where it's going. So a straw vote on whether or not, I mean, because it's an expense for him. If he doesn't need a wetland inspector to go out, I mean, it doesn't come that cheaply. So who?
Wait, Adele, can I ask
Yes.
a question? So he can still get the yay or the yes or no one. He can still get whether he's got wetlands on his property. You know, the $125 one that the town pays for. He can get
Yes,
that
that's
without
true.
getting it delineated.
Okay.
So I mean, that's one thing, is to just say, based on I see hydric soil, I see these kinds of plants, whatever. Yes, you have a wetland and it looks like it's fairly extensive, or not, or it's all, he can get that without getting it fully delineated, and whether he'd need a permit, because without a site plan, he doesn't need a permit, because like you said, there's no telling where he could put the house right up by the road or something, who knows, but right. But he needs to know if it's maybe the way he's thinking of subdividing it, maybe he should change the lot line or something. If he, I mean, it could affect his subdivision choices.
I mean, that was my suggestion in the beginning, but it sounded like, I wouldn't say you, you thought that it wasn't enough. So.
Well, I mean, if he wants it delineated, it's not enough. If he wants to know that, because he has a drawing that shows a house, possibly there. If he wanted to know if that was an okay place to put it, he needs it delineated. If he just wants to do a subdivision that's buildable, he needs to know which way and where the lot lines would go. Maybe he would change something about the way he's doing it. So.
But I don't know that, I mean, I think he can decide that, right? If he's got a buildable lot, which we think he
has a buildable lot.
It's 19 acres that.
I mean, the likelihood that all of the acres.
Right.
Well, you'd be surprised sometimes, but yeah.
Okay, so you want us to wait for the next one and just send Mark out for the freebie? We could do that too.
Yeah.
Lyle, you have an opinion on this quickly? Because you know more about this stuff than probably, well, certainly than I do. And
well, I'll have to write the law.
Oh, I can't hear you. Oh.
Wow.
We can't, we know, but he's not on, I don't know how we're gonna hear him.
I don't think there's a wetland there.
Okay.
We heard that.
We heard that. Thank you. So
send them out for the freebie and let's
close it out. Let's just
move on.
double check and then we'll know.
Okay. All right. We're all set then. Is there a motion to adjourn?
But can I just say one thing before we adjourn?
Yes.
I want to thank everybody, all the colleagues, for the hard work that everybody did on that McDonald's. I'm sure it will have its detractors, but it looks, every time I pass it, I want to pull in. It looks so clean. There's an electric charging station. It looks very inviting. I even saw people inside and there was a huge line. And I just think it looks like New Paltz. I think it looks fresh. And I just think that it's the nicest McDonald's I've seen yet, and it's not a black building. So I'm very pleased with it, and I just appreciate everybody's hard work because it was a grind to get it the way it is. And I'm just glad to see one of our things that we can pass by and, say, we did that. That's different. That's changed. That's new. That's
I am second thinking that that sign on the west side, I think is missing something. Now it looks like it needs a sign on the west side.
And actually, the golden arches are set off beautifully on that cream colored building. It looks really nice.
Yeah, it's just, it's nice to see one thing that we did that we can look at.
So Jane, maybe we should have a site visit and we all go in and socially distance and buy a hamburger. How great it was.
I don't mind.
And people need to know, the public needs to know that we had nothing to do with getting rid of that playground inside.
That's right.
they're gonna blame us for it, but we had nothing to do with it. That was McDonald's. That was not part of their plan.
Yeah,
The
that must have
playground.
been a,
Want to appeal to different clients, they said, and I think that, I saw people in there. I saw through the window as I drove past, there were people in the playground.
yeah. Well, maybe it's a pandemic thing,
Is
like
there a
people-
playground in there still?
No, I mean,
Oh.
where the playground used to be, there were people
Oh.
sitting there.
They wanted more seating.
Yeah, a lot more seating.
Okay, so motion to adjourn.
We'll move.
Nobody, everybody wants to stay? Jennifer,
Jennifer.
second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. This was a tough night, I think.
Yeah,
but,
Thank you
I
for all
think
your
we
hard
got-
work.
Very long.
Okay.
Adele,
Bye.
Adele, can you stand for 1 minute?
Well, I just want to make sure that we're not
Oh,
Record.
let me-
in public.
And the stream and stuff.
Mhm.
I can
We
just
are,
give you.
yeah, we're streaming. I'll call you, Amanda.
Okay, that's